Hey everybody, Dodger here, back in the Assetto Corsa career mode. We have just completed the Novice Series number 4, and now are moving on to the Intermediate Series number 1, which has this story behind it. Congratulations, you are now competing in Intermediate Series 1. When you are driving so well for a great brand like Lotus, it's logical that other British manufacturers will keep an eye on you. Still, when the phone rings and McLaren is on the other side of the line, it's not easy to stay calm and composed. Win 2 bronze and 1 silver medal, and show that you can handle all that power. So as far as these go, it looks like we have about 5 races to choose from, and they look like they are all indeed races, which is nice. I will be choosing 3 of these that most interest me. We have an MP412C race against looking like some other mixed competition at the Valunga circuit, and then again at the Mugello circuit, and again at the Nurburgring, and again at Silverstone, and again at Monza. So of those 3, I think it's probably going to be... I like the Nurburgring, I like Silverstone, and I like Monza, so I'm probably going to choose the last 3 there. The first one here looks like it is up against some bigger German manufacturers to rival against us, and some other surprises. So let's see what we have in store. Alrighty, here we are back at the track, and it looks like we've got some 1M Stage 3s, some M3 S1s, a crossbow, okay, SLS AMG, and another MP412C driven by Mitsu Natabishi. We have a track grip level of 97%, so it's a little bit low. Temps are good though, so it shouldn't be too terribly bad in the grip front. Let me get everything organized here on the steering wheel. It's actually been, about 2 weeks, I guess, since I have recorded Assetto Corsa, due to a whole bunch of real life stuff going on. Some of it fun, some of it not. Alright, here we go. My volume's a little low, but I'll deal with it for now. This is going to be paddle shifting car. Look at that BMW up there ahead of us, with his wheels cocked all the way to the right. He must be ready for something. Trying to get back into the groove of things here. It has, like I said, been quite a while since I've even played the game. Okay, I thought that was going to give me a lot more damage than it was showing there, and like, it's barely a touch. I don't think I've spent a whole lot of time in this car. I know I've spent some, ooh, easy now. I've spent some time in the GT3. Because I wanted to compare it to the one in iRacing, because I spent a lot of time in that car in iRacing. Shortcut here. But I did not really, I guess, pay much attention to the actual street car version. So far, it's dramatically different, as one would expect. Supercar on street tires is much different than one on slicks. I've always really enjoyed the GT3 car because it is so neutral. I mean, it is really a dream to drive in that you can pretty much do anything with it and get away with it. Sometimes it's a little hard to feel like you're getting the most out of it. This car, very different though. It almost feels like I'm trying to get way too much out of it. Or I guess I'm expecting too much out of it. Gears are very strangely spaced as well. Perhaps I'm just used to the more closely ratioed racing transmissions. It's not helping that I barely have any car sounds right now. Ooh, understeer. Holy understeer, Batman. I did not expect that. Well, you know, it's just helping me with his brake zone. Oh, man. I am struggling. This thing is kind of a handful. under coast, it has a lot of understeer. Seems to have quite a bit of oversteer on acceleration. That almost started turning into a song. Oh man! And now we're stuck in the gravel. Bad things have happened. I think I'm gonna have to go for a restart actually. Okay, well the good news is I have car audio now. I can hear it. You guys can hear it fine, but my headphones were turned way down. So hopefully that will help me out. Boy, it has a lot of power. I swear it feels like it has more power than the race car, which is very possible. Those GT3 cars are typically kind of limited. They usually put, at minimum, air restrictors on them. Sometimes, even like in a car like this, they'll turn down the boost and de-stroke them in some cases. They really do a lot to take some power away from them, because this car is so freaking fast that when you put slicks on it, they're gonna go much too fast to be safe. So this car is not limited in power, just in traction. Much better with sound, though. It's amazing how much you use the sounds of the car in a racing sim. It's kind of the thing. It's one of the two things that replaces the seat of the pants feel. You know, you lose all sense of movement when you lose the actual, being in a physical car. So you search for other things to kind of give you those cues, and for me, the sound and to a certain extent the force feedback are the biggest things that you use. This game doesn't always have the best tire screeching sounds and engine strain sounds. Sometimes I feel as though the sounds are maybe just a little too flat. They don't give them enough pitch range, like they don't change them. Like as the tire is starting to lose grip, it'll start to just gradually work up to a squeal. There's my typical, oh, I didn't even think I hit him. Yeah, that's what I was saying, the typical career mode braking passes. Look how much better it's going just with sound. Or maybe just a half a lap of practice. Oh, there's our marks from before. Pretend like we don't see those. So now I just gotta hold the lead for 3 laps, huh? I think I can manage. I am sadly recording in 30 frames per second today. As much as I would like to record in 60, I just don't quite have the computer power to do it. I was able to get that last episode rendered in 60, but it was actually kind of degrading the. Whoop, whoop, whoop. There's that snap oversteer I was talking about. Lost my wheel center too. It was degrading the quality of the video for some reason. It was getting this weird little stutter to it. So I'm gonna have to look into maybe doing some upgrades, or it could be that I'm using an older version of Vegas. Vegas 11, I believe. Yeah, 11. That doesn't really support 60 frames. It wasn't designed for that kind of frame rate. Gotcha. And that may be why I'm getting a little bit of that weird chunkiness. I might just have to play with it. But for today, I just wanted to get back into the game and start making progress again, so we'll stick with what we know. Good old 30 frame. This game does look really, really good in 60 frames per second, though. It's one of those experiences that really shows the difference. Some things you don't really even notice 30 versus 60. But a game like this, you certainly do. So over the weekend, I was actually Oh! Apparently I was talking and distracting myself. Why do you do that, car? Why do you do that? You're just like, you know what? I could go straight here, but I would rather do a 360. Luckily, I have about a 1,500,000 second lead on the third place car. What was I saying? Something about this weekend. Oh, yeah. Oh, I'm not a big fan right now. I'm not feeling it. Yeah, this weekend I was in Daytona for the HSR kind of historic racing. There was no MP412C there, which was a possibility. It's called historic racing, but it's basically for any race car of any era. They have a class for it. They will kind of work around it. There was even basically a current Tudor, USCR, Grand Am, whatever you want to call them, road racing class there. So it was basically like a little miniature Rolex 24, and then stuff all the way back to, you know, the 50s and 60s. There was, I think, obviously my favorite cars there were the late 90s Viper GTSRs, because it's basically my favorite car of all time. I just realized I left the driving line on the track map. Somebody else was playing the game over at the house the other day, and they needed those things. I have to remember to turn those back off. I do not need them. Yeah, the GTSR Viper is basically my favorite car of all time, and there was 3 of them there. So those were my favorite things there. But the biggest surprise for me was there was a Maserati. I'm trying to remember that MC12. Or is that this? Now the letters and numbers are escaping me, but you'll see it in the video. Amazing car. It's not something we ever saw raced here because it was an FIA GT1 car, and we didn't actually race those in the States. That series never traveled here, and they were not an ALMS eligible car or a Grand Am eligible car. To me, they're basically right on par with the prototypes that we got. They looked like it was virtually just as fast, sounded amazing. So yeah, that was my biggest surprise favorite. Oof. Come on, car. Play nice. Is this all-wheel drive? I don't think it is. I guess it's just rear-wheel drive. If it's not, it certainly drives like it is. Doesn't feel like those front wheels are doing anything, because it is super oversteering, underpowered. This is not a car that I particularly know a lot about. It's not a car I've ever been particularly excited about either. It just, it doesn't have the kind of raw exoticness as the original McLaren did, and I don't know. It reminds me kind of more like a Ferrari than anything. It just kind of does everything in a modern Ferrari way, you know, in a very normal exotic sense. It's a livable exotic, I guess, is the goal with it. The looks, I'm not a big fan of the way they look. It's just not very exciting. The engine doesn't sound particularly amazing, which is surprising considering it's a twin-turbo V8. But they just don't, I don't know. There's something about them that just doesn't, I guess there's just nothing about them that makes me get really excited. And so far, driving it's not making me that excited either. But I better get used to it, because it looks like every single one of these races is going to be in it. Is this the last lap or the second to last lap? See, all my apps are messed up, and I don't even have the one open for the laps. I'm starting to get used to the brakes. It's got one of those very strong ABS systems. I've got a story to tell about ABS. If this isn't the last lap, I'll go ahead and tell it. I'm not sure. Let's see. Nope, this is it. Okay, we'll talk about it next race. That is a silver, so we are good to move on, and hopefully I've learned the car a little bit better. Alrighty, moving on to the next race at Silverstone. We got another McLaren with us, and 2 Exiges, 2 Lotus 211s, and some Evora GTEs. Those will be pretty quick cars, but they do not. I drove one of those this weekend, just a little bit of like side playing, and did not like the way they handled. And a Exige Skura, I don't know which one that is. Overall, these don't seem like cars that will prove to be too difficult. Track grip's up at 99%. That's one thing I kind of forgot about during the race there at the Nurburgring, was that the track grip was pretty low. Air temperatures are pretty low on this one too. Alrighty, well, let's go ahead and hit the track. Okay, so let's see about getting a decent launch here. I really don't know what to do with this car. So much power. Just spin him up. Yeah, Mr. Tift there just launches perfectly. Not using traction control like a jerk. Turn 1 at Silverstone is always tricky. Oh man, a lot of contact there. Nothing I can do about that. Alright, let him string out a little bit. Oh, I forgot to fix my apps and everything. Bad, Conager. Bad. What Lotus is that? That looks really neat. Almost looks like a Ferrari, doesn't it? Yeah, it looks like a 599. I don't know that I've driven that one. Oh man, this car has some ridiculous oversteer. Try to get it back under control. Luckily it has massively more power than most of those Lotuses back there. Guessing that is the GTC or GTE, the modded one that they were listing there that I didn't know. Seems like he has a pretty substantial amount of grip, but I'm guessing not quite the power. Yeah, it looks like I'm closing in. Oh, penalty. Yeah, I knew it was coming. I knew it was gonna come. But there's nothing I can do about it. Sometimes you just gotta use them to your advantage to brake for the next turn, though. I can't get the shifting right with this thing either. It feels like just the front end of the car is not in the track. And then when you try and lift to kind of correct for it, the back end wants to snap around. Yeah, just like that. Oh, we got somebody sneaking up on us there. Hopefully we'll leave him on the straightaway here. Alright, Dominique, I'm coming for you. His name is Lissarth? Come on, that can't be real. That is the best family name ever. Alright, here we go. Predict that oversteer. And now we just gotta hang tight up here. Not do anything stupid. I'd like to get gold. I certainly could have gotten gold at the last one, if not for being a dingleberry. Doing stupid things. Lap 1 in the books. I did not look to see how many laps this was. I'm gonna assume 4. That's how many the last one was. I have no idea though. I guess I'm spoiled by race cars because this thing just feels like it has zero grip, front or rear. See, some cars you can really power it out of a turn like that and get the back end to come around. This one doesn't really do that. It powers the nose off the track, and then when you try to correct for it, it murders your face off. Not to be whiny about it, but you know, I just want to be whiny about it. Turn, you bastard! Did they forget to mount, like, the same tires on the front of this thing, or what? Blew a tire here on the way here, and we put a donut on the front? Is that what happened? even there, I'm like fighting the nose over. Okay, let's try and make it real slow. Slow down our entries. Just use the power. Use the power to get away. These S's are... That was probably deep. That was super deep. Okay. Saved it though. So like I was mentioning about the ABS, this car does have some pretty amazing brakes and a very strong ABS. I actually, if you also noticed, I posted a little bit of autocross footage from the weekend. Unfortunately, I was not able to use my car. I am currently without a daily driver, so I didn't feel comfortable using my car. And my current roommate wanted to do his first autocross, so I decided to co-drive with him to help him out, help him learn and whatnot. But I've actually never driven or autocrossed any vehicle. I've never performance-driven any vehicle with ABS. I've also never performance-driven any front-wheel drive car, so it was a little bit of a first in that regard too. But I actually noted to him while we were driving, actually, but I noted to him that I felt like racing sims really prepared me quite well for what the front-wheel drive car was going to be like. Nothing in that regard really surprised me. I did have exactly the kind of lift-off oversteer that I knew to expect, and it wasn't overly dramatic. It wasn't anything that was scary. It actually is pretty fun. You know, you're in a big, long... The track where we're at has some big, long, sweeping turns, and you'll be halfway through it in the front end of your speed, scrubbing, and you can just do what I was doing right there, just feathering the throttle, and the back end will just start to get out a little bit, and it'll help the nose turn in. It's really cool. It's actually a pretty cool feeling to have that. But more than anything, it was cool that it basically like confirmed that everything that I felt in racing sims was actually like, you know, relating to real life. I had always kind of known that with how the rear-wheel drive cars that I'm used to felt in sims, and sometimes I'm not always convinced that they are modeled perfectly. Sometimes the oversteer is a little bit dramatized, and the understeer is actually like not profound enough, especially in a car that is very nose heavy. Like my 240 will a lot of the times fight understeer more than anything, and I guess there's not really any cars in this game that relate. But when you look at cars like the XRGT and Live for Speed, which was very closely modeled to a 240, I never really quite felt like that. It was always a very neutral kind of floaty car. And the 240 is a much stiffer kind of, I'm either understeering or I'm oversteering kind of car. Much like this one is handling, of all things. I'm starting to get a pretty good hang of it now, though. And now that I have a, like, I don't know, how big of a lead do I have? 13 seconds? I don't know. How many more laps do I think? I think this is the last lap. I may cut some of this out if it's if it's going to be super boring. And my phone continues to go off. I shouldn't be looking at it while I'm driving, though. Don't be a bad influence. My throat is also feeling quite dry at the moment. We've finally hit our first... Whoa! Stupid Teflon. Well, luckily I got 13 seconds to fix that. Yeah, it finally got cold here in Florida, which I'm sure a lot of you are shaking your fists at me for complaining about, since it's, you know, the first cold time that we've had this year. and that means the heat's on and all that stuff, and my throat gets so angry at dry conditions. I need to throw my little humidifier on for my room so that my throat stops feeling like the Sahara Desert. So I think I'm going to do that. Let my voice rest for the rest of this race, and I'll just pick up when it's over. Session over, first place. It was last lap, so didn't miss much. Kaplook. On to the next one. Alrighty, well, this 4-lap race at Monza has some interesting competition. As it said, we've got some Ferraris joining in, a 458 Italia. There is another MP4 here, and there is the F40 Step 3, another 458 Italia, a regular F40, and an Evora GTE, and some E92 M3 Stage 1s, which weren't too much of a problem before, and I don't expect them to be a problem now. This guy, though, is the one I'm worried about. That is a fast as hell car. I have driven that one a little bit. It does not turn with the greatest of ease, but in a straight line, it is absolutely really, really, really fast. And we're at Monza, a place with a lot of really, really fast streets. Hopefully we'll be able to take them on the braking, though, as we usually do. Alright, let's get ready for some tire spinning. I did finally get rid of the track map. Try and clean up the screen a little. Not a great start. There it goes, it hooks up. Looks like the F40 had some issues with that same thing, getting hooked up. I think I see the stage 3 up there. I got rid of the driving line as well. Oh, you just turned dead into me. What a... Alrighty, let's see about getting a nice, decent start this time, huh? Let it spin in first, grab second. Let's try and shoot right up the middle. F40s are proving not to be a problem. Somehow I just picked up a ton of body damage. I think that's a little bit sensitive, guys. I think I should be allowed to brush up against people without getting an orange level damage and a broken window. I know it's an exotic car and all, but it cut me a little slack. So it's not the F40 that gets all stretched out, it's something else, like a 458, I'm not sure. But it's gone. That was a pretty darn good start, considering we got up to second place. Hopefully we have more legs than he does, or something. Granted, all we need is actually a bronze. Did you see it lose the nose there? It just started skating. Yeah, all we need is a bronze, so I'm thinking we're probably not going to even consider catching the leader and getting gold in this one. As I have mentioned, I actually had a pretty good conversation about this on the Assetto Corsa Reddit this weekend. The career mode is terribly balanced. If there's one thing that I think is kind of an embarrassment to the game, it is the level design, I guess you would call it. The career modes, balance and stuff like that. I don't think they even really tried to. They just put together some races they thought were interesting. They didn't necessarily try and get a bunch of people to test them and make sure they were balanced and adjust them as needed. Because you got ones like this, which are extremely difficult, and I'm not saying they should be easy, but this is on the same exact level as one where I just completely walked away and won without even, breaking a sweat. And these two are supposed to be the same level of difficulty? I don't think so. So yeah, some balance. Boy, I really, really do not like the ABS in this car. Which brings me back to a little bit of what I was talking about before during Autocross. I've never experienced that before in real life. It's a very uncomfortable feeling to me when you're braking and then all of a sudden the brake pedal starts like pulsating and the car just feels like it just stopped braking completely. It freaked me out a little bit. I'm not gonna lie. I was distraught the first time I did it. It's going into basically from the fastest part of the track to the slowest. This car, not a fan. Loses the nose so easy. But what I was saying is, it's going from the fastest to the slowest part of the track, and I'm braking really hard, trying to threshold brake, but then the ABS hit. And it's like, once it hits, you have zero control. You better just put your foot into it and let it do what it's going to do. Because I tried to instantly, like, back off of the brake pedal. That was my instinct of it, you know, just like, nose, why aren't you doing anything? Silly car. Come on. God, I hate those penalties. So yeah, it was not the right thing to do to try and get off the pedal, because then it obviously just stops braking completely, and by the end of the event, the last run, I had pretty much learned it, and honestly, it kind of lends you to and teaches you very bad braking technique. So somebody coming from the opposite way, somebody that's only ever driven an all-wheel drive car, a ABS car, I feel would have a very hard time driving in something without ABS, because it definitely lends itself to be driven very poorly. And I would say even cars like this in the game kind of have that same effect. It doesn't reward you for braking correctly and not having any lockup. It rewards you for just putting your foot into it and letting the ABS try and slow it down. Which one does better? I don't know. I'm sure the ABS is significantly more consistent at braking, and obviously it does not make any mistakes. Guy behind the wheel and the pedals does, but not the ABS. But to me, it felt like I could have gotten more out of the brakes without the ABS, which is probably why you don't see it in a lot of race cars, especially on the professional level. Let's see if we can at least track down Brenton here in the same car. I can't complain about the balance of the career mode when he's in the same exact car. that kind of goes against the argument I was trying to make. How far out is the leader, though? I want to see that when we go across the line. Oof. Like, if he's 30, 40 seconds out, then I don't think it's even possible. As far as getting gold, which is not necessarily the completion of the game. It's just the goal of getting all golds and everything, and getting all the achievements and whatnot. Which is something I always kind of enjoyed in Gran Turismo, was getting gold in every license test and stuff like that. Obviously, you talked about the liver speed, getting gold and everything. Oh yeah, he's 35 seconds out. That's insane. I'm not sure that is... Oh, ABS, I hate you. I hate you so much. I would have much rather locked up the brakes right there than that. It's such a helpless feeling. You just feel like you can't do anything. Alright, let's try and race this guy for real. Get our silver medal honestly. Boy, this car more than others. Just very long in the brakes. I believe this is the last lap. I'm not 100% sure. Boy, I struggle with this turn, don't I? Probably not turning in soon enough. I'm just expecting there to be more there when I get there, but I'm not getting it. Alright. Just gotta make these next two braking zones, and we got this in the bag. Really, I have it in the bag anyway. All I need is a bronze. I'd like to keep my silver. Right. save. Cut this a little bit. No turning. Yeah, this set of challenges has definitely kind of cemented my opinion of this car. Not one of my favorites. It's a very understeery mess under part throttle and kind of mid-turn exit. And kind of an oversteering mess whenever you're trying to use the gas pedal. Not a very enjoyable experience. But we ended up with silver, and we're ready to move on to the next series of races. Alrighty, that's going to wrap up this episode in the McLaren Challenges here in Intermediate Series 1. Ended up with a silver at the Nurburgring, a gold at Silverstone, and a silver at Monza. Even though I kind of had to Pastor Maldonado my way through that Monza one, it was a success. And it looks like it was that the 458 Italia Stage 3 that I couldn't beat. He pulled out a 47-second lead. Yeah, you want to talk about balance? That ain't it. Alright, but next time here in Assetto Corsa, we will move on to Intermediate Series number 2, which has us in some AMG, SLS, Mercedes, big boat gull-wing action. So stay tuned for that. Thanks as always for watching, and I'll see you next time.